I want to drive home a point or a rule into your head. We so often subscribe to events with the plus equals, and we end up forgetting to minus equals when we're done listening for the event. And if you don't unsubscribe via the minus equals, you cause two problems. One, the event still subscribes, so even though you want to, the code behind that event will run, and if that code's doing something you don't want it to do or not at that time, it'll cause you some headaches. And then number two, it also maintains a reference to the delegate which you subscribed. And if you remember, the delegate has a reference to an object you might not be interested in anymore. Okay, so then if you never unsubscribe, but you're always adding these subscribers, but you let them go in your code, that's okay. The delegate will still keep reference to them. The garbage collector will never come clean up, and eventually you will run out of memory if you keep that up. All right, let me try to drive the point home here a little bit. I'm going to say I have a button here, and if you notice, I made this person. And something we like to do in Utah is jump off cliffs into water, so we're going to go cliff diving. And notice I made the arguments, the parameters match that of the delegate type for clicks event handler. And we're just going to report that we're jumping here. Okay, so let's do var form gets new form, make our form, and I'm going to say form dot controls dot add but, so put the button on the form, and then application dot run form. So that'll bring up our form. Alright, now I want to make a person and then tell them to jump off the cliff here into the water. So I'm going to say but dot click. When you click, I want this person to cliff dive. Alright, hopefully that's pretty straightforward and old hat to you now. Alright, but let's run this. Control F5. And here's our form. Here's the black console in the background. I'm going to click jump. Notice the output. Woohoo! They jumped. Alright, now going along with my example, they're in the water. They're done jumping. So when I click jump, there's nobody else to jump. We haven't subscribed to anybody else. But unfortunately, in our code, if I click jump, I'm going to get jumping. Jump, 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 jump. That person already jumped off. They should be gone and unsubscribed. All right, but we didn't take care of that. All right, we just subscribed them. In fact, not only did we subscribe them, but I newed them up, and then I let go of the reference here. So in my mind, I might think, well, I newed it and I let it go, so the garbage collector will come pick it up. But that's not necessarily true, because click has a delegate behind it, and that delegate references this object, and it also has the address of this method. All right, but since it references this object, but references this object, form references but, and application is holding on to form. I'm also holding on the form in main. This person will no longer disappear. So the garbage collector can't collect them. And even worse is if I have code that's probably connecting to a database or doing some work, or I don't know, doing something I don't want it to do, that code is still executing as well. So there's two bad things because I didn't clean up after myself. So how do we change this so that I can clean up after myself? My design's going to be a little bit hacky, but I think it'll drive the point home. I need a constructor here for person, and then person, I'm going to give person the button, but, and then instead of having this public, because really this is kind of a private internal thing, I'm going to take the public off, and then now the person's going to be responsible for subscribing to the button click. So I'm going to actually take this code and move it up to the constructor, and now this new person here, this since I moved it in the constructor, it's this object. Okay, but I don't need to say this. That's implied when I say cliff dive, because cliff dive is a member of this person. So I'm going to take this off. So now we subscribe, but once they've cliff dove or driven or divin or dived off, we need to unsubscribe. So what I'm going to do is actually store a reference to the button in here. I'm going to say button, my button, and I'm going to say my button dot, or my button gets but. So I'm going to store a reference to the button that I'm subscribing to, and then when we cliff dive, I'm going to say but dot, whoops, my button dot click minus equals the method we're actually in, which is fair. I mean, it works all the same, regardless of whether you're in the same method or another method. But now I've unsubscribed, which is quite nice. All right. So let's new up a person here. New person. Oopsie. New person. And pass but in there. And it looks like I've leaked it there and let it go for garbage collection, but I haven't because the person subscribes itself or adds itself to the reachable chain here. So the garbage collector can no longer come along and collect it until it unsubscribes itself. Alright, so let me run this. Boom, here's our form, here's our console. Bring up the form, I'm going to click jump. They jumped, I'm going to click jump again. Notice we get no output. No longer do we have any output because we cleanly unsubscribed ourselves from the cliff dive. I actually had this bite me in the foot this morning as I was doing some coding. I was changing some values on some slider controls in GUI. Anyway, I was changing some stuff, and that was causing other events to fire, and I wanted to disable those events while I was doing all my changes and then re-enable them. So I had to unsubscribe all my subscribers, make all my changes, and then I had to resubscribe all my subscribers. So anyway, that's another workaround there. But just make sure that when you subscribe, if you have some condition where you're theoretically done, like I said, cliff dive here, then you need to unsubscribe as well. If we want to cliff dive and cliff dive and cliff dive, then I wouldn't unsubscribe. But in this case, where we're just jumping off and being done the first time, then we need to unsubscribe ourselves as well. Be very clean. Be a professional programmer.